Holo! Nice face. Come on, I'm gonna get you. Oh, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. Ah! What? Dude, I'm on your side. Why you do this? Why? Such a man has no place in this army. Howdy folks, Sauber here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry for the lack of uploads these past couple of weeks. It's been for good reason, don't worry. I've had some friends come to town, and family. Friends and family come to town. I can't talk. And had some events to go to. So that was a ton of fun. But at the same time, that also meant that I wasn't able to create and upload as much videos as I would have liked. So, here is your first batch. Enjoy! No, don't worry. I'm not going silent just yet. I don't know, maybe in the next video. But, let's get down to it. The M1 Abrams. As you may have noticed in the title, it is the age of the Abrams. But why? Why did I call the video Age of the Abrams? Well, as of this video's release, it is still a top dog at 9.3. And yet, despite that, Gaijin says that at one point they will add the M1 A1. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me explain first off how I know at one point or another they will add the M1A1, or at least maybe the M1E1, and I'll explain why in a moment. This is taken from the M1 Abrams dev blog for 1.77, which was released on February 23rd, 2018. Or, excuse me, the 24th. So this is a couple of weeks before 1.77 dropped. And before I read it, let me highlight this. This was actually kind of funny. You know me, I can't always see a tank that's often in front of me because I'm looking at the chat or I'm looking elsewhere. And where it may seem obvious in the video, he's right there, he's right there. It's not always obvious in the heat of battle. But the Leo 2K takes a shot at our other Abrams. I look and I'm like, oh, hi there. And he drives into this shelter. And let me know in the comments below what this is, because I have no idea what this is. On the one hand, it could look like a bomb shelter, but at the same time, it also kind of looks like a maintenance shaft or an entrance to a subway station. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what that is or what you think it is. Anyway, here is the dev blog for the M1 Abrams. And if you want to view it, if you're viewing it yourself on the blog, it's under the history tab, which you have to open. So here it is as follows. By 1985, several thousands of M1s had already been manufactured and put into service. In August 1985, however, the M1 was outfitted with the license-built version of the Rheinmetall 120mm gun as found on the Leopard 2 tank, and subsequently entered production as the M1 A1 Abrams. Following this modification, early M1 units were progressively upgraded to the M1 standard. But this is a story for another dev blog in the future. Keyword, another dev blog in the future. So the question now is, will this be the M1 A1, which is the production model with improved armor, which is, if I recall correctly, 600 millimeters effective thickness versus kinetic, which applies both to the hull and the turret, and 800 millimeters of effective thickness against kinetic, or excuse me, chemical for the turret, and leave 600 also for the hull? At any rate, that is pretty tough nonetheless, which is able to defend itself well against the current rounds in game. To deviate a little bit, it looks like the game is over, right? Well, no, there's always that one little guy that thinks he can just drag on the match in the single plane. Now, I understand the pain. You're in your plane and you're like, I don't want to just J out because I don't want to spend 50 or 30k on repair. So let's just digress and wait. Welcome back to our regularly scheduled program. Now, to return on the subject of the M1A1. Will we get that, or the M1E1 prototype, which is basically the predecessor to the M1A1 production model? Kind of like the Leopard 2K with the standard Leopard 2A models. Now, the M1E1 is basically an original M1, which you see here that I'm driving, with an with an upgunned 120mm cannon. Now to focus a little bit on the cannon itself. From the information I was able to find, and I'll link it in the description below, the standard APFS DS round for the M256 cannon is the M829A1 APFS DS round. Oh my goodness, this shell is going to be one of the most powerful shells in the game if it's ever added. Well, not if it's ever added, but whether it be as stock or as a modification, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe there's some other, like, earlier shell that I don't know about, but Gaijin has secret documents too, huh? But anyway, here is the information I was able to find of M829A1 shell. Oh my goodness. 570 millimeters of penetration against rolled homogeneous armor at 2 kilometers. Yeah. So you could penetrate a T-64B, a Challenger 1, if you aim right, a Leopard 2K, or another M1 Abrams at 2 kilometers easy. And at point blank, 670 millimeters of penetration. Oh my goodness. I can't even wrap my mind around that. And then there's the M830 heat round. I couldn't find any info on that from the information I gathered, but it would have to be at least 650 millimeters of pen, which is comparable to the Leopard 2K's DM12 round. Oh. It'll be interesting to see what will be added in War Thunder for 1.79. And then the M1A1 or M1E1, whichever comes first, is not the only thing we can expect for 1.79. There's the production model Leopard 2. And I'll also link this Q&A in the description. Question: is it possible to see production or later variants of the Leopard 2 for the Germans? War Thunder's response: yes. We plan to add the serial production versions of the Leopard 2 tanks. The first of them may appear as early as the major update after 1.77. That is, 1.79. So, it's clear they are working on them. But will they appear in 1.79? Whatever the case, when the production Leopard 2 model is added, will it be the A1 or the A4? We'll have to wait and see. Whatever the case, it'll add some interesting flavor to the game, even more so than it is now. And then for the Russians, which this is just my own personal speculation, and I couldn't find any Q&As for this, or if it was, I clearly overlooked it. But could we receive, what other Soviet top-tier MBTs could we see? Like in 1.79, for example, in 1.79, to compete with the Leopard 2 production model and the newer M1 models. Could it be the T-64B 1984 is really advanced in itself, and could it be the T-64BV? But then at the same time, T-64BV appears to be a T-64B with ERA on it, all over it, like a T-72B. But at any rate, who uses heat much? Except if you're a Leopard 2K player because it's stock. You mostly use Sabo because it has better performance downrange. And what I mean by that is you don't have to aim that high. You just have to aim carefully and click, and you're more likely to hit the target first try than a heat round at distance. So, could we maybe expect a T-72 model? Like the T-72A? Or that fancy looking, I want to say it was an East German T-72 with two 30mm cannons on the side turret? I'd buy that. I would seriously love to play that tank. I'll link its topic suggestion in the description below. And when I saw pictures of that thing, I thought, there's Soviet Russia's answer to the Leopard 2K and MBT-70 with a 20mm on top. This thing has two 30mm. And then there's maybe the T-80 prototype, which is basically a T-64 with a gas turbine. And with the late-tier Soviet MBTs, you definitely could use the extra mobility. That would be nice. Or maybe just an early T-80 model in general. It'll be interesting to see. And then what other challenge? And then for the British, additional Challenger 1 models. And then last but certainly not least, oh, I just remembered. The Challenger 1 with a later variant of the 120mm rifled gun. Not the L11, but, oh my goodness, I cannot remember the name of the later variant. But then let's go on to the Japanese. And this was taken from the same dev blog or Dev Q&A as the Leopard 2 production model. Question: do you have plans for the Type 74D, or I don't know if it's G/Chi or just G or T-74 Chi, the STC one, or the Type 90 for the Japanese? The answer: yes. We have plans to add a more recent tank for Japan than the Type 74. It may perhaps be ready for 1.79. That sounds really exciting. A new top-tier MBT for the Japanese for the first time in I don't know how many patches. So the Type 90, I looked it up on Google, and it kind of looks like a Leopard 2 cousin. It is a very nice tank in itself. It really looks cool, kind of like the Leopard 2A4. Oh, this is funny. I'll replay it. Our M163 gets destroyed by a T-64, and we're not expecting it to come from behind us. We're expecting it from the front. And I guess he's focused on the Challenger, and I look at him, I'm like, huh? And then just one shot. You gotta love it. Tanks sneaking up on you, but you get the jump on them before they can do the same to you. Kind of similar with that T-64 Alpha in Alpha earlier in the video. Like, I could have got to him after he put out his fire the first time, but why take the risk? If I would have popped out, he would have most likely killed my driver, or my fuel, or hit me in other vulnerable spot and critically damage me, or even destroy me. So sometimes patience is key. Anyhow, going back to the top tier MBTs, it'll be really cool to see what even more modern tanks we can expect. However, it eventually has to stop, unfortunately. And I know what you're thinking. They're like, oh, they'll add the T-14 Armada, or the M1A3, or the Leopard 2AX, or the Challenger 2 ATDU. No, no, no. Horses, boys. I know some of you might think that. I know a certain someone I know that thinks that. But no, sadly, that won't be the case for a very, very long time. What I mean by that is that some of these tanks, their info is still classified. Like the M1, for example, the one I'm driving right now, although most of its data has been declassified, not all of it is declassified. Some of it is still classified. And Gaijin has said themselves that they are trying their best to model these vehicles as realistically as possible, given the data they have to work with. Nevertheless, it will be interesting to see how these vehicles, newer vehicles, will perform, and how far, as close as possible to the present, we can get. Now I'm thinking like M1A1, a later Challenger 1, T-72A, T-80, not T-80A, but like the first T-80, maybe the T-80B, I don't know. Well, it just impresses me, honestly, how they're able to get all this information on these vehicles and model them in the game. Because as you know, War Thunder is not the kind of game, like Armored Warfare for example, where it uses health points. It uses instead realistic damage models. So without further ado, that is it for this video for now. You are about to see a very quick battle, the shortest battle ever for War Thunder that I've ever played in a real battle. So without further ado, enjoy this, and until next time, have a great day. Peace out.